So I'm going to be talking about granular synthesis. It is super overpowered. It's like way too good of a tool. You can just do really, really awesome things really easily. And I don't know why not everyone uses it. So, other awesome thing about granular synthesis, like the best tools out there are like $25 or free. So, what is granular synthesis? This is the definition you'll see on the internet. Method which sounds are broken into tiny grains, which are then redistributed and reorganized to form other sounds. A sort of simpler way to think of that, it's just basically just a bunch of, you take an audio clip and you just chop it up into tiny little pieces and then rearrange it randomly. And you could argue it's not true synthesis because it requires audio. So if you're trying to create like a procedural system in a game, it isn't truly procedural because you are using an audio file, but it's close enough. And then, so this is a typical granular synth. They almost all have these same parameters: density, size, pitch, and fade. Density is just how many grains there are overlapping at a given time. Size is the size of each grain. And then pitch is just the pitch of the audio file, or in some cases you can actually have the pitch randomly change between grains. And then fade is just the fade length or shape between grains. So why is it so cool? You can turn anything into a drone. That's like the first thing. And the cool thing about that is that with a drone, you can kind of make anything. So here's some examples that I did with C-Sound Grain 3. If you download C-Sound, it's a patch. You don't have to know how to use C-Sound. It's just a patch that is in the McCurdy collection. It's these sort of examples that are there. So here's the original sound. This first sound is me hitting a soda can filled with liquid. And then I put it in the synth, played around with the parameters, and got this. So that's already like a pretty cool sound, and that took me, I think I made this sound in 5 minutes. Like, it wasn't really much. And here's another one, same source. It's kind of a nice little force field thing. And then this next one is me making some cute noises. I pitch shifted them down and EQ'd them a little bit. Up. So this is what I put into the granular synth. Comes out like this, which makes for a nice sort of tension or horror drone. Last one. This is me hitting the chair of a table, or the leg of a table. And then the granular. So just another example of that. So again, why are drones so useful? So a drone is cool because it's a stable sound that you can just shape into just about anything. It's great for magic spells, great for engines, impacts, and UI sounds in particular. And then another nice thing about the drones is you can very, very easily layer them to make more complex textures. And now the thing we're going to talk about next is creating character themes using these drones. So you can create a sort of unified sound for a whole character or a whole game world by just taking all these little drones that you make and then chopping them up and then using them as pieces for all your sounds, kind of like what Joe was talking about using the same sort of components to create new sounds. So yeah, coolest thing with Granular is creating themes. It's basically an audio blender. So you can just kind of think of sounds that remind you of your game or your character, and then just put them in the audio blender, and out you get awesome stuff. So I'll just, as a basic example, we'll throw some metal, broken glass, a screaming man, and stormy wind into a blender, and now we get an evil ice wizard. So it's really great for those kinds of things. And then I'm going to talk about my favorite granular tool. It's called Whoosh by Melted Sound. It's basically just a granular synth, but what it does is it lets you do granular to 4 sounds at once and apply Doppler effects to those sounds, so you can create whooshes with it. And you also have randomized switching of the sounds. So I usually make whoosh patches that will have like 80 sounds in them, and then it's just randomly cycling between the sounds each pass. And then if I have the granular density high enough, it's also just overlapping them with each pass. So this is Whoosh. I could spend a whole 2 hours just trying to dive into it. It's a reactor ensemble, $25 if you're interested in getting it. And then the bottom, this is just the granular module, and then the top is the Doppler module. So first example, for a project, I have a part where I did a sound replacement of an Overwatch clip, and then Reaper flies in. And then I wanted to create, even though he's not there for that long, I still wanted to create a sort of sonic identity for all of his abilities and everything that he uses during the clip. So when I thought of a sonic identity, I thought demonic and ghostly. So that, in sound-wise, that's growls, hisses, breaths, leather. It's just me flapping leather in front of a mic. I actually had a funny situation where I texted like everyone I knew, hey, do you have any leather? Like without any context. And then after I sent out the mass text, I was like, oh, I made a mistake. Fortunately, someone had leather, and they brought it to me for the studio. It was just a jacket, nothing weird. So then smoky, darkness, evil stuff, smoke and burning. I used just like a sound of burning wood, and then angsty. So really distorted, low, bassy synths. And this is what just came out of Whoosh. This is without any other processing. So kind of cool, not immediately useful. But then what I did is I made a bunch of those, layered them on top of each other, kind of, arranged them, put a bunch of like EQ compression and whatnot. And then this is in context of my project. So you can hear how it really kind of gives him a sense of character. And then the whole thing is anytime he was moving around, anytime he would use abilities, even his guns, I would just use these same whooshes as pieces for all of the abilities. And then the next example, this is a project I'm working on right now. I'm doing a sound replacement of this character, Blood Moon Jin from League of Legends. I actually don't have a video for this one, unfortunately, but I'll be playing some of the sounds, components that I'm building. So his sonic identity is a distorted idea of art, so I use distorted chimes, screeching metal. I'm a big fan of screeching metal. Japanese horror, so I recorded a shinobue, which is a Japanese flute, and I just brought the player into the studio. I was like, you have any sheet music? I'm like, no, can you just like make your flute sound like it's screaming? And I recorded that for 2 hours. And then demonic again, so growls and hissing. I use growls and hissing a lot. And then blood, so just low bubbling, like pitched down bubbling water. So this is, in this case, I actually did some compression and EQing to the whoosh when I bounce it out. So here it is. So that's an example of one. So it's just so the idea is to try to create this character's identity, but in sound. So here's some other cool whoosh examples. So the first one, I'll just do more of the Blood Moon Jin stuff. So here's another one. You can actually make impacts with whoosh, which is really nice. Basically, if you have the acceleration of the Doppler start very, very fast and then slow down suddenly, you're going to get a really tight just compression of a bunch of those sounds at once, and you get an impact. So here's one of them. So that's for Blood Moon Jin again. Here's one that this is just my growls turned into an impact. And then the last one, cool thing about screeching metal, if you speed it up, it sounds like a gong. And then just to play more whooshes and just kind of show how awesome Granular is. Best part about all this is it really doesn't take that long because you just cut up the samples, clean them up a little bit, put them into whoosh, and then just wait. You just press record and just let it go. And then, so this is for a game I'm working on when you craft a magic spell. So that's just, a lot of tonal happy synths. This is for a project I'm working on at MIT for VR applications, and I made a bunch of whooshes to incorporate into the UI sounds. So here's an example of one just out of context. So, like UI sliding, I could trim out the tail and use it so when you click a button, you have the tail end of one of these whooshes. And then let's see, what else? Okay, and then I have this one that is, there's not really, I just was like, I want to make cool space bike sounds. And then it's just that. I was like, oh, space. I like space. Okay, cool. And that's basically it. If you have any questions about it, because there's a lot of stuff that I just kind of glossed over because there's just a lot with Granular Synth, feel free to email me, oscarthesoundguy@gmail.com. Pretty easy to remember. I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentations today. Thank you.